What would you do if the person who was supposed to care for you after your father's death tried to take everything that belonged to you? Imagine being just 18, dealing with grief, and suddenly realizing that someone you trusted was secretly plotting against you. This is not just about money. It's about betrayal, about family, and about learning who really stands by your side when life tests you the hardest. In today's story, you'll witness how a young woman discovered the painful truth about her stepmother's intentions and how she found the strength to fight back. It's a story of courage, intelligence, and a kind of silent revenge that no one saw coming. Stay with me until the end, because this one will touch you deeply.
When my father passed away, my world collapsed. He had always been my anchor, the one person who made me feel safe, no matter what storms were waging outside. I was still trying to process the silence of a house that no longer echoed with his voice when my stepmother, Lisa, started to act differently. At first, I thought she was just grieving in her own way, but then the coldness in her tone and the distance in her eyes made me wonder if there was something more. One evening, I overheard a phone conversation that shook me to my core. Lisa was speaking to someone about selling the property quickly, as if it were hers to decide. She laughed in a way that made my stomach twist, saying, "The girl is too young to understand any of this." That girl was me. My father had always told me that he had set aside a will to protect me, but now I feared that those promises might vanish if Lisa had her way. I tried confronting her gently, asking what her plans were for the house and the savings my father had left. She smiled in that icy way and said, "Sweetheart, these things are complicated. Your father wanted me to take care of everything. You just focus on school." Every word dripped with false sweetness, and I realized she was underestimating me. I spent nights searching through my father's study, looking for any document that would confirm his will. The desk drawers smelled like his cologne, and each paper I touched felt like I was holding a piece of him. Finally, hidden in an old folder, I found it. His will, signed and notarized. Every line confirmed that I was his sole heir, and Lisa was only meant to be my guardian until I turned 21. My heart pounded, torn between relief and fury. In that moment, I knew two things. First, my father had protected me more than I ever realized. Second, Lisa was trying to erase me from his legacy. I folded the document carefully, placed it in my backpack, and whispered to myself that I wouldn't let her win.
The days that followed felt like a game of masks. Lisa pretended to care for me, cooking dinners and asking about school, but her eyes always darted toward the locked study, as if she knew something was missing. I pretended to be naive, to still trust her, but inside I was building a plan. I didn't want a screaming fight. I wanted her to reveal herself. I visited my father's lawyer, a man named Mr. Collins, who had known me since I was little. When I handed him the will, his eyebrows raised in surprise, but then he nodded solemnly. "Your father made sure you'd be protected. This document is binding. Lisa cannot change that." His words were like a shield wrapping around me, giving me the courage I needed. Meanwhile, Lisa began dropping hints, saying things like, "Wouldn't it be easier for you to move to a dorm? This house has too many memories." Her attempts to push me away only confirmed her desperation. I smiled politely, never letting her see that I already knew the truth. One night, she stormed into my room holding an empty folder, her voice trembling with rage. "Did you take the will?" she demanded. I looked her straight in the eyes and calmly said, "Why would I? Isn't it yours to take care of?" She froze, caught between fury and fear, realizing I wasn't as blind as she hoped. That night, I locked my bedroom door, but I also knew the time had come to act. The next morning, I invited Mr. Collins over under the excuse of asking him about college forms. When he arrived, I asked him to sit with me in the living room while Lisa was there. Calmly, he explained that my father's will had already been verified and filed. He said every asset would be transferred to me at 21, and nothing could alter that. I watched Lisa's face drain of color. She tried to argue, to twist the meaning, but the lawyer's words were firm as stone.
Lisa didn't give up easily. She started manipulating in smaller ways, trying to make me feel guilty. She would sigh dramatically, saying she had given up her life to take care of me, that she deserved something in return. But every attempt only made me stronger. I realized she wasn't mourning my father. She was mourning the money she thought she could steal. One afternoon, I decided to give her a taste of her own medicine. I placed a copy of the will on the kitchen table, highlighted with my father's signature, and left a sticky note that said, "I know." When she found it, she stared at me with hatred, but also with fear. She had no more power over me. The silent revenge wasn't about shouting or fighting. It was about letting her choke on the truth she couldn't change. Neighbors began noticing the tension, and soon her reputation started to crumble. She had always tried to act like the grieving widow, but her bitterness slipped through. People whispered, and she hated it. I kept my head high, knowing that silence was louder than any confrontation. By the time I turned 21, every asset officially became mine. Lisa packed her bags and left the house without even saying goodbye. The silence she left behind was different. It wasn't grief anymore. It was peace. My father's voice seemed to echo in my mind, telling me he was proud. If this story has already touched something in you, leave a like right now and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't loud. It's silent, steady, and undeniable. Years later, I still live in that house. Every corner holds memories of my father, but now it also carries a reminder of my strength. I learned that silence can be sharper than words, and that protecting what is yours doesn't always mean fighting with fists. It means fighting with wisdom. Sometimes I wonder if Lisa ever thinks about me, about the inheritance she tried to steal. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. But I know she remembers the moment when her lies crumbled in front of her eyes. That memory is her punishment, and I don't need to add anything more. What hurt the most wasn't her greed, but the betrayal of someone who was supposed to protect me. Yet, in a strange way, I thank her, because it was through her betrayal that I discovered my own courage, my own ability to stand firm even when everything seemed against me. Whenever I walk through the garden, I remember my father planting roses with me when I was a child. Those roses still bloom every spring, and every time I see them, I feel that life always finds a way to protect what's real, what's pure, what's meant to be ours. And maybe that's the greatest lesson of all. Silent revenge is not about making someone suffer. It's about reclaiming your peace. And once you have peace, nothing else can be stolen from you. Life sometimes puts us face to face with betrayal from the people we least expect. But it is in those moments of loss and fear that we discover what we are truly made of. This story isn't just about inheritance or money, it's about resilience, about honoring the people who loved us, and about never letting deceit define who we become. If you felt something awaken inside you while listening, take a moment to breathe it in. Remember that no matter who tries to take what is yours, truth always finds a way to prevail. Silent strength is the kind of power that no one can take away from you. The unconscious always invites you to look within, and I invite you to continue this journey with me. If something in this story made sense to you, if you felt a spark of recognition in your own life, consider subscribing and becoming part of this community. Because every story we share here is another step in exploring the mysteries of who we really are.